To foreclosure defense, partition actions, quiet title, short sales, loan modifications, insurance claims adjustments, title deeds, and real estate contract disputes. Attorney Gaines attended the University of Miami School of Law. Mr. Gaines acquired his experience in real estate litigation by assisting with landlord-tenant disputes and foreclosure defense. Foreclosure is a legal process where a creditor, such as a lender or condo association, files a lawsuit to obtain judgment authorizing it to place your property up for sale at a public auction. At the Gaines Law Firm, you will have a one-on-one consultation to discuss different options, including loan modifications, refinance, and whether bankruptcy is recommended. Once you receive notice about the lawsuit, most people typically have 20 days to respond to the suit. If you file a response contesting the foreclosure action, it may take years before a judge rules or whether to grant foreclosure. Most people don't know that there are many options available to them when faced with foreclosure. Attorney Gaines, a real estate attorney, is equipped to prepare and review documents relating to real estate, such as purchase agreements, mortgage documents, title documents, and transfer documents in most cases. Don't try to take the big banks on alone. Contact Attorney Tayson Gaines at 561-543-9226. That's 561-543-9226.
We are back now with more of the Ask the Experts radio show, proudly sponsored by board-certified family law attorney Tina Lewert of Lewert Law LLC, covering South Florida.
Hi, we are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're with you every Thursday night from 6 to 7, drive time. Give you something better to do than listen to music or all the crazy things going on in the world. We have the top experts in South Florida. And our next show, it's so important. A little bit of a downer, but you'll understand when we get into the show. This is, and I got to tell you, our next guest, who's an attorney who went to University of Miami. Let me introduce you to our attorney, Tayson Gaines with the Tayson Gaines firm. We're going to be talking foreclosures tonight. Hi, Tayson.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you again. It's
Good
been
to
so
see
long.
you. I know, it just seems like long. Where is that cute daughter of yours?
She's not with me today. Hopefully next time I'll be able to get her in front of the camera.
Well, I got to tell you before we start the show, I read your bio, and I got to tell you, you're like the who's who. I mean, it's a very amazing bio on what you've done, and I am just so glad that I'm not sucking up to you. You've just got an amazing bio.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been doing a lot of different variety of opportunities, so I'm very grateful and happy to be in the role I'm in now. But I'm always learning, so I think that's what's helped me over the course of this time.
Well, tell us about your firm.
Sure. So my firm is going on 5 years now. Thankfully, we're growing, we're expanding. We just opened up our title and closing service inside. So we're servicing a lot of residential. Yeah, thank you. Servicing a lot of residential and commercial transactions now. But primarily, we litigate real estate matters. And a big one is foreclosures. We exclusively defend foreclosures. I don't file foreclosures for lenders, but I exclusively in the foreclosure realm defend those cases, but I do a number of other things, probate cases, quiet titles, all types of litigation issues related to real estate. So happy to be here again, and happy to talk about real estate.
Glad to have you. Hey, so Tayson, tell me what's going on in at least South Florida with foreclosures. Is it skyrocketing? Okay. Is it getting better?
Well, no, it's not getting better, and the data suggests that it actually will get worse in the future. Hoping that, obviously problems don't come, and if they do come, they take a little longer and shorter. But the data does show that Florida is creeping back up into the top 3 states for foreclosures. You know, a lot of that has to deal with, obviously, inherently just the transient nature of real estate here in South Florida and the community, right? A lot of people coming and going, a lot of people, this can be a second investment type home situation. And so we are usually at the height or at the top of the foreclosure list when things go bad. Fortunately, now they're not as bad as they were before, but again, the statistics are trending in the wrong direction. So hopefully that curbs and that kind of subsides. But right now, we're starting to see increased activity across the board.
Is there any kind of moratorium on foreclosures with the pandemic, or are those days over?
Yeah, so those days are over. The federal moratorium ended last year, and I believe it was October of 2020. So that's gone. Some of our owners are getting the benefits of the eviction moratorium because some of those guidelines are falling into the benefit of the owners, where banks are not pursuing foreclosures either under certain situations where tenants have applied for protections or are subject to moratorium protection. So some people are still getting protections, but we're having a lot of owners who are coming out of those moratorium type of programs, whether it was forbearance or deferments or what have you. And now those payments are becoming due or accelerated. And so now we're starting to see a lot of people in a little bit of turmoil as it relates to, you know, being able to make the payments and make up the missed payments that happen over the course of.
So, Tayson, you know, there's people who are possibly going to be going through a foreclosure for the first time. That's who I want to talk to now. They're getting letters, I take it, in the mail from their mortgage company or their bank. And why do I think some people will like throw those in the drawer thinking they're going to go away?
Well, you're probably correct. I get a lot of those experiences where, you know, sometimes it's property that's passed from an elder that moved on and transitioned, and now the heirs and the children are not necessarily very acclimated with the documentation and with mortgage payments and those things. In cases, you know, people, you know, it's hard to deal with that reality sometimes when you're realizing that you're at risk of losing your home, you know, your security for your family. A lot of times that can be tough, and it can be stressful. It can cause a lot of anxiety in families and tension. And so sometimes we like to kind of dismiss it and hope it'll go away or hope we can fix it down the road. And a lot of the times that's the worst thing you can do. Fortunately, due to some federal protections that homeowners have, you know, usually they have to be 90 days to 120 days past due on payments before foreclosure will even start. But once that process begins, once you start receiving letters, even if the lawsuit hasn't been filed yet, if you're receiving those acceleration letters, if you're receiving those notice of default letters from your lender, you want to start taking action now. Once a foreclosure lawsuit is filed, due to the costly nature, how much, you know, there are at minimum $1,000, usually $2,000 in just cost and fees. And that doesn't even include the attorney's fees to file it. So a lot of the times, once you reach that point, the lenders are not incentivized to negotiate with you. And so you want to start getting on these things when you initially receive letters from your lender and see if there's programs available and other alternatives that you might be able to access. Because if you wait, you could lose a lot of those options.
Well, I'm going to tell people right now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Don't try to do this yourself. I am telling you, you are going to get yourself in so much trouble. It is worth it to hire and retain someone like Attorney Gaines, who, first of all, once they sign on with you, you're basically kind of given the power of attorney and you speak for them. They don't have to talk to the lenders anymore.
Correct. Right. You know, we take over full communication for our clients. We negotiate modification deals, all types of refinance deals. We work with our clients, so we hold the entire process in our hands, and we guide them through it. We make sure they're educated about what's going on, but we take over the communication both with the lenders and with anything to deal with court system, anything to deal with attorneys on the other side, have you. We make sure that we're ahead of the curve. We make sure that we file the necessary documents that are necessary to not only protect your interests, but maximize your options as far as finding solutions to get out of the situation. And so that's really our job, is to make sure that we find every avenue that's possible for you, protect your interests, and make sure that we give you all the alternatives that are available to you, and make sure that they're accessible to you, right? And so that's really the point or the benefit of getting a foreclosure defense attorney. Is not necessarily to make the foreclosure go away, is to find a solution, right? So.
Exactly. Because you know all the laws. I mean, see, I don't even understand loan modification. Is that still, I never hardly ever hear people talk about loan modification anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a nice term that's used, but in practical, from a practical standpoint, it's really just a refinance that you do with your current lender, right? And so usually what you see when you get modifications is, hey, you missed 6 payments, we'll take those payments, we'll put them to the end of your loan, and you just start paying current and fresh. Can you handle that, right? Other modifications will maybe require you to pay a down payment or initial payment up front, and then allow you to start picking up your not only your current payments, but even a small piece or a fraction of what you missed, right? So that incrementally over time, you pay back the missed payments, still catching up and being current on your loan. So for practical purposes, it's really just a restructured loan, the same way you would do in a refinance. You're just doing it with your current lender.
And what do you think about short sales? What are your feelings on that?
Sure. Short sales. So, I mean, I love short sales if you can get them done, right?
Okay.
But in this
Is that
market,
a big if?
I mean, it's something that is not executed as nearly as much as it's talked about. Now, there are places where they get done, right, where it makes sense for all parties involved to do that. But in most scenarios, especially in this market that we're in, where property values are going up, they're going up double digits in value every. Generally, the bank or your lender really has little incentive to give you a short sale and to basically take a smaller or a fraction of what you actually owe in settlement or in exchange for the property, right? And that's satisfied, right? So ultimately, most lenders aren't going to do that. They'll rather foreclose, get the property back, list the property, and sell it themselves, and collect that equity that's in the home, because property values are appreciating. If we were in a climate or a market that we call like a bear market, where prices are either stable or retreating, right, then banks have more of an incentive to get sales, because there's not the hope that they will collect equity down the line that has been increasing throughout the foreclosure process, right? If they see it as, we're going to go through a 2-year long foreclosure lawsuit, spend $20,000 litigating that case, $30,000 litigating that case, and the property value drops $20,000-$30,000 while we're doing it, then they have to give you a short sale and reduce your balance. But if the values are going up like they are now, you don't see a lot of these getting done, just because it doesn't make economic sense for the lenders.
Tayson, we're getting ready to go to break. We just got a text from a listener wanting to know about your fees. How do you charge for a bankruptcy?
Bankruptcy is their flat fees. There are ways to structure payment plans and things on bankruptcies, but for the most part, it's a flat fee. It does depend on which chapter you're filing under. If they want a consultation, we'll provide all of the information at the end, so that people can call and get a consult. But ultimately, it's flat fee. Yeah, they can get a free consultation on the bankruptcy. They can figure out, get an idea of which chapter would probably be best for them. And then they can get a quote for a flat fee, and whether or not they make payments or a full payment, it will be a flat fee.
Give everybody your phone number, Tayson.
Sure. So directly here in the Palm Beach office, the number is 561 543 9226. We also have offices in Fort Lauderdale, but you're in Boca, so we'll give the Palm Beach number. Um, Again, 561 543 9226. That's locally. And nationwide, it's 1 800 241 1559. So 1 800 241 1559.
You know what? We just got some of the Broward people upset. We
Uh
cover
oh.
all of Broward too, so you better give them your Broward number too.
Okay, let me give them the Broward number. So, actually, okay, so we got too many numbers at this point, but I'm gonna give you. I'll tell you. We'll give you the Miami number, and then we'll cover both
Good.
sides. So
Okay.
Broward, whichever one they in Miami, it's 786-706-5466. That Broward folks pick whichever one you want. If so be it, they can definitely visit our office. We have an office in Broward. So if anybody in Broward needs to be serviced, we're not leaving you out.
And he's got a great assistant too. We're going to go to break. When we come back, we have more with attorney Tayson Gaines, the Gaines firm. We'll be right back.
Attorney Tayson Gaines practices real estate litigation, including but not limited to foreclosure defense, partition actions, quiet title, short sales, loan modifications, insurance claims adjustments, title deeds, and real estate contract disputes. Attorney Gaines attended the University of Miami School of Law. Mr. Gaines acquired his experience in real estate litigation by assisting with landlord-tenant disputes and foreclosure defense. Foreclosure is a legal process where a creditor, such as a lender or condo association, files a lawsuit to obtain judgment authorizing it to place your property up for sale at a public auction. At the Gaines Law Firm, you will have a one-on-one consultation to discuss different options, including loan modifications, refinance, and whether bankruptcy is recommended. Once you receive notice about the lawsuit, most people typically have 20 days to respond to the suit. If you file a response contesting the foreclosure action, it may take years before a judge rules or whether to grant foreclosure. Most people don't know that there are many options available to them when faced with foreclosure. Attorney Gaines, a real estate attorney, is equipped to prepare and review documents relating to real estate, such as purchase agreements, mortgage documents, title documents, and transfer documents in most cases. Don't try to take the big banks on alone. Contact Attorney Tayson Gaines at 561-543-9226. That's 561-543-9226.
We are back now with more of the Ask the Experts radio show, proudly sponsored by board-certified family law attorney Tina Lewert of Lewert Law LLC, covering South Florida.
And we're back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We're on with you every Thursday night, drive time, 6 to 7. And if you'd like to text us, the number here is 954-336-3767. We are so lucky. You sent us emails about foreclosure. We were so lucky to get one of the top foreclosure attorneys. And it's not just foreclosure. He does real estate. He does anything having to do with real estate. Because it's become such a big topic here in South Florida, we're talking foreclosure. And, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It does. I mean, you would not believe, right, Tayson, how many people go through foreclosure. It's nothing to hold your head down about.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, the U.S. is in debt by trillions of dollars. So, everybody's in somewhere. So, it's all about restructuring and modifying the debt so that they don't cause any more unnecessary problems than already are there. You stabilize and restructure and move on like anything else.
That's the purpose of this show. What we're trying to do is not try to make you feel bad about a foreclosure. Look, times are rough right now, and what we don't want you doing is just putting those envelopes and sticking your head in the sand. That it's so much better to retain an attorney like Tayson Gaines and get started on now. I'm telling you, you're going to have much better chance of success when these banks see you're trying to do something and you're not hiding from them. Tayson, how long does the foreclosure process take?
Sure. So, so there's a 90-day to 120-day window that's called pre-foreclosure. So what that means is you're missing payments and you're being notified of your missed payments and that you could be subject to default, which means you're violating the contract, right? There's federal requirements that your lender has to notice you of this default, as well as there what's called an intent to accelerate. So that takes about 3 to 4 months. That's called pre-foreclosure. That's when you start getting the letters in the mail. That's when you start having maybe some debt collectors call you, things like that, right? Once the lawsuit is filed, that's when the game kind of shifts, right? That usually happens about 3 to 4, even sometimes 6 months into having past due missed payments that have not been corrected. Once the lawsuit is filed, you have 20 days to respond. If you do not adequately respond, even if you respond on your own, you have a lot of people try to do this. Unfortunately, they try to respond on their own. They don't think it's that important or what have you. They respond and they lose, the majority of the opportunities that they have, they lose right then and there. And while it may still take your lender 4-6 additional months to actually finish the in foreclosure litigation process, because it can be very detailed that goes into it. There's a lot of accounting that the banks have to do to get that for. But if you don't file the proper defense within that 20-day window, in a short term, they will then eventually get that property from you and get it sold at public auction. If you, on the other hand, properly defend, whether it's me or some real estate attorney, if you hire them and you allow them to establish some of the fundamental defenses that are available to all borrowers, right? The average time is around sometimes 18 months. I've seen them go even past 2 years if they're defended and litigated properly. And so that's the empowering point is you're, as a homeowner, you're giving yourself an extra 18-month window by properly defending the foreclosure so that now you're allowed to restructure your debts, recalibrate your finances, and get yourself back in a stable financial position. But if you're having to deal with 6-month turnaround from I was doing okay, lost my job, and 6 months later I'm out of a home, that can be really devastating, and that can put families in a tragic and traumatic situation. And so a lot of the objectives of process are to give you time to really breathe, to access the different opportunities and legal options that are available. And eventually, if your finances start to turn around, you combine that with the legal defenses you have available, and usually you'll find some resolution that fits well for you. You don't have a foreclosure judgment on your credit report, so you don't have the serious impact to your credit. You don't have to worry about having rent. You'll find a restructured program, and you will find something that works and fits for you. And so that's really, the big difference is you can have 5 months being out, and you could be looking at 18 months to 2 years, depending on how you handle it, right?
You know what I see why you're so successful. You're so easy to understand. You just put it right out there. And I got to tell you, our listeners, I hope that because whether it's yourself, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's just a friend. People do tend to bury their heads in the sand, don't they, Tayson?
Sometimes.
And then, like you're saying, the longer they wait, the harder it is for you to do something. Instead of coming and sitting down with you, mapping out a game plan, because you know the laws, they don't. This is not the time to act like a big shot and try to play negotiator. This is what you do every single day.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. I mean, I think it's just this is the climate we're in. You know, we're in the internet climate, so everybody has access to information at their fingertips. So it's a good thing. It's empowering that people are educating themselves. But you know, I always counter and tell people, listen, it's one thing to learn about something, take a day or two to get yourself acclimated to what's going on. But it's totally different when you've been doing it every day, when you've done, you know, you went to school, you invested all of your time into this, and you really understand it from a nuanced perspective. And so, you know, the same way, you know, you wouldn't do surgery on yourself or you wouldn't treat yourself medically. You shouldn't try to defend any lawsuit, but especially foreclosures when you're dealing with your home and your family's security. You don't want to risk, you know, dealing with it yourself and running the risk of losing a lot of good options that you could have accessed by just hiring.
Right. Yeah. Tayson, we only have a few minutes to tell people, how does foreclosure impact their credit?
Sure. So, I mean, if you get a foreclosure judgment against you, it's devastating. It's more of a detriment to your credit report than even being evicted, which is really a detriment as well. But a foreclosure is it can impact your housing, where you can get approved the next place that you're trying to go. But it really does a lot of damage to your credit. You know, if you're not paying your home on time and you're looking at it from a lender's viewpoint and vantage point, you know, if about loaning you a car or selling you a dishwasher machine or anything, right? They're going to be hesitant because they're looking at it and saying, hey, you can't pay your home bills. What's the chances of us collecting our payments on items that are more discretionary? And so,
exactly.
You know, it really does damage. Yeah, it does a lot of damage. You know, again, you warn against it at every turn. There are plenty of options out there, you know, and you can fight a foreclosure until the end. And even if they're about to get a foreclosure, you can then turn right around at the last minute, at the 11th hour, so to speak, and still file a bankruptcy. Sometimes you can do a deed in lieu. There's always options. So you never want to throw in the towel and just walk away and act like it doesn't exist, because, you know, while you may not feel it while the process is going on, eventually it will really catch up to you and be very harmful to your financial independence and freedom.
Tayson, what's your Palm Beach number and what's your website that people can go to?
Sure, excellent. So the website is www.t as in Tom, my last name Gaines, Gain as in Nancy, and then the word law, law.com. So www.tgainslaw.com, and the Palm Beach office line is 561-366-2713. Again, 561-366-2713.
And Tayson will be back with us again next month. Tayson, you're the best. We're going to find people out there that we can help. Thank you so much, Tayson Gaines, a Gaines firm, and we will be back with you next week with more Ask the Experts. Have a good week, and God bless everybody. Take care, Tayson.
Thanks for having me. Take care. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in today to Ask the Experts, sponsored by board-certified family law attorney Tina Lewert of Lewert Law, LLC. Join host Steve-O again next Thursday for more interviews with the top experts in South Florida in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement on Ask the Experts.